In this video, we will be discussing the tragic murder of Janette Roberson, who was brutally killed while working alone in the pet department of Gamble's hardware and appliance store in Reed City, Michigan, on January 19, 1983. Despite a massive investigation involving multiple law enforcement agencies and public appeals for information, the case remains unsolved to this day, leaving Janette's family and the community in shock and fear. It was January 19, 1983, and 27-year-old Janette Roberson was working in the pet department of Gamble's hardware and appliance store in Reed City, Michigan. She worked alone in the basement storage room of the store. However, her coworker found her dead that day, partially clad and covered in blood. It was a gruesome scene, and law enforcement agents from the Reed City Police Department, Michigan State Police, and the Osceola County Sheriff's Office arrived at the scene shortly after. Detective Sergeant James Southworth with the Osceola County Sheriff's Office started interviewing employees and patrons of nearby businesses, including the Buckboard Bar next door, to find any potential suspects. However, no one had seen anything suspicious. The autopsy report showed that Janette was hit in the forehead with a blunt instrument, stabbed, and sexually assaulted. Her time of death was around 3 p.m. Initially, Janette's husband, Alvin, was considered a suspect due to rumors of a rocky marriage. However, he was later cleared of suspicion. Detectives identified most of the customers who had been in the store at the time of the murder and even stopped a man leaving town on a bus, but he was later released without charges. Despite the efforts of investigators and public appeals, one customer seen in the store remains unidentified, and police released sketches of the man described by 3 witnesses. Janette's family, including her mother and younger sister, were shocked by her murder, which had occurred in broad daylight in a busy store. Detectives struggled to determine a motive for the crime. Janette was described as a friendly young woman who was easy to get along with and didn't seem to have any problems with anyone. As the investigation entered its second week, Michigan State Police Detective Sergeant George Pratt appealed to the public for help, but no leads were found. The community was on edge, and the lack of a quick arrest made people more nervous. The murder was the first in Reed City in nearly 8 years, and the prosecutor urged people to think back to the day of the murder and contact police if they had seen anything unusual. Janette's sister, Lena, had always been concerned about her working alone in the basement of Gamble's, but Janette had felt comfortable there. She loved the peace and quiet, even in the dark. However, her life was tragically taken in that very basement, leaving her family and the community in shock. Despite efforts to find her killer, including a $7,000 reward offered by the Reed City Chamber of Commerce, area merchants, and residents, no significant leads emerged. Former Reed City Police Chief Phil Rathbun retired in 1998, but couldn't shake the case from his mind. He believed that the killer was someone who knew Janette, and the murder was a crime of passion, not a premeditated attack. Nearly 34 years after Janette's death, in 2017, Detective Sergeant John Forner of the Michigan State Police shared his opinion that the killer was not a stranger passing through town. The injuries to Janette's body suggested a fit of rage during the attack. Those who knew Janette remembered her as a kind and friendly person, leading her sister Lana to believe that the killer may have been infatuated with Janette and made a move that she rejected. Janette had also received obscene phone calls in the weeks before her death, which could have been from her killer. The Michigan State Police formed a cold case task force in 2017 to investigate unsolved cases, including Janette's. They resubmitted several pieces of evidence for advanced forensic testing, hoping to find new leads that would help identify a suspect. Despite their efforts, the investigation failed to yield any significant breakthroughs. Janette's loved ones continued to fight for justice for her, holding an annual Justice for Janette walk through Reed City on the anniversary of her death. They hoped to raise awareness of the case and remind the public that the killer was still at large. Janette's niece, Elena Cavender, never met her aunt, but the impact of her murder affected her deeply. She expressed her fear that the killer could still be living among them, and they didn't even know it. Janette's family and investigators involved in the case continue to hope that someone with information about the murder will come forward and provide the breakthrough they need to bring the killer to justice. The brutal circumstances of her death continue to haunt the community, and the memory of Janette lives on. Who do you think killed Janette? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear what you have to say. Also, consider giving this video a like if you liked it. That really helps with the algorithm. Additionally, consider subscribing to the channel for more true crime. Till next time, signing off. This has been Christina.